English. Learn English. Learn it. You get money in America. This isn't you getting money in America. Learn English. I don't give a fuck. Learn it. Learn it. You riding on the roads. Learn English. You get money in America. This is shit. Learn English. Learn English. Learn English. Learn English. Learn English. This ain't your fucking country. This ain't your fucking.
This incident occurred 2 weeks ago, and it went viral on TikTok after gig food delivery driver Gregorio Amudarian posted an encounter in which he had with a business employee while picking up a UberEats order in Washington, D.C. The establishment is called Cana Ice Cream and Coffee. Now, a man affiliated with the restaurant, Greg Harris, is seen ranting at the driver, telling him to learn English. He says other questionable things that are directed at Gregorio, but the main refrain in that diatribe was telling the guy that he needed to learn English. According to local news footage, Gregorio was seen in the restaurant holding his phone out and talking into it to his TikTok audience. And that may have triggered Greg Harris by saying what he said to him. And while Harris is literally going off on him, he's talking in Spanish. And he's describing that Harris is insulting him and he doesn't understand what he's telling him, and that this is the store. This is the store. Now, this incident is under investigation by the Washington D.C. Police Department to determine whether that Greg Harris's actions were motivated by hate or bias. Gregorio says that this is the first time he'd gone there to pick up a delivery at the restaurant. He expressed humiliation and fear, and he was dismayed that he would be treated the way he was because he speaks Spanish and has yet to have a command of the English language or learn English or have learned English. His mother told him that what he needs to do is go back to Venezuela. He doesn't have to be treated that way. Now, here are some key facts. And these are key facts that should come up to someone who has a trained eye for the gig economy and gig delivery work. And also, if you are, and I'm going to draw upon my newspaper reporter experience, in which one of the 10 attributes of a journalist is being curious. Because when you're curious, you're going to follow things to a logical conclusion instead of just going off of what you see, which is one of the problems with media in the 21st century.
A D.C. delivery driver posted a video on TikTok yesterday that has thousands of comments and shares and likes.
It is reported that Gregorio came to the United States 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, there was a wave of Venezuelans who settled in Washington, D.C. Gregorio says that he uses the money that he makes on the UberEats app to send money back to Venezuela for his daughter. He completes his deliveries using a moped. Now, he's also been active on the UberEats app for 7 months. We don't know what Gregorio had done prior to being onboarded onto UberEats. But let's make a comparison of some things that we know. And some may say that this is just all circumstance. But let's still make the comparison for what we do know, those of you who are actively involved in the gig economy right now. We know that there are people from South America and other places who have bought gig app accounts, which is a form of identity theft and fraud. And this is a big business, and that the app companies have been somewhat directly. You can make the argument of being indirectly and possibly directly complicit with this type of activity.
They are turning around and getting violent and aggressive with the good people of the community that are working honestly, and that has to stop.
Stunning allegations tonight by Walmart delivery drivers.
They claim pirates are squeezing them out in a pay-to-play scheme involving drugs, cash, and cell phones.
Natalie is back with their shocking claims.
The drivers are asking Walmart to take action in a scam that they say has resulted in corruption, intimidation, and even death threats.
I used to go home in 4 hours and make my quota. Now I gotta stay out here about 10 hours. That ain't right! To make money.
Independent suburban Walmart delivery drivers claim their customers are at risk.
I also care for the security, of these elderly people, which are my majority of my clients.
They allege hackers have taken over the Spark app that customers use to place orders for delivery. Not only are the hackers hoarding most of the orders, they say, but the workers claim they're also using fake profiles to access the app and make those deliveries.
They're able to receive orders way before we do, not just one order, multiple orders. And that's obviously been devastating us financially, leaving us sitting here for up to 8 hours with maybe a job or two. And some days we really don't even make enough money for gas.
Those behind the hack allegedly refuse to redistribute orders to delivery drivers unless they pay them with cash, drugs, or cell phones. And in some cases have threatened honest workers when they come to pick up orders.
Someone, and they're professional, has hacked into the Spark app, intercepting orders that belong to us.
The drivers are calling on Walmart to beef up app security and check IDs in person. We reached out to Walmart, and a spokesperson told us they have been in touch with the stores in Cicero, Bedford Park, and Forest Park, and they're continuing to take appropriate action in these specific incidents. Corey?
And that's despite these gig app companies saying on record that they have been very robust in weeding out the illegal accounts. We also know that in other situations and locales that people from South America, namely Venezuelans, and in other places have ran scam operations at airports involving rideshare. We know that what they've done is pretty much gum up the queues with individuals having in their possessions multiple phones, multiple accounts. While there may be actually physically 10 cars, the queue is showing 230 cars. And these people they've got all these accounts, whether they are legal or whether some are legal or mostly are illegal. Most of them probably are, in which they've purchased these accounts that are purchased through a form of identity theft and fraud. They're ciphering through the ride requests that come through, and then they farm out the better paying ones to people who pay them to have access to those rides. This is going on in 2024. We know this to be true. We also know folks from South America, namely Venezuela and other places, who are driving around in their various locales without proper insurance. There's an incident that I'm aware of in Texas where a lady said her car was hit by a Venezuelan gig worker, and he didn't have any insurance.
A woman visiting North Texas for the 4th of July holiday ended up with a 5-digit repair bill after a delivery driver hit her parked car.
So that driver had no insurance, didn't have a driver's license, and the company behind the delivery, the car he was driving, didn't seem to be much help. That is until the woman got Fox 4 on her side.
Here's consumer reporter Steve Noviello.
On a recent visit to this quiet suburban street in Frisco, Elena Hollipeter says it was the kind of sound she instantly recognized.
Screech! And I was praying, like, please don't let that be my car. I know that's my car, but please don't let it be my car.
Take a look at this video she shot minutes after she heard the screech. It was her car, parked on the street and hit by a man making a delivery a few houses down. Here's the order on his phone. It was a delivery from Walmart, but there was a problem.
We realized that this driver did not have registration or driver's license, as well as he was uninsured.
Elena took a photo of his Venezuelan driver's license and his expired registration, and she called Frisco PD. A bilingual officer responded so he could speak with Elena and the Venezuelan driver. They filed this police report. According to a Walmart spokesperson, Spark is Walmart's delivery platform that provides opportunities for independent contractors across the country to make deliveries for Walmart and other merchants. Here's the Walmart copyright and the Walmart logo on the Spark website, driveforspark.walmart.com. In the FAQs, it details all drivers must have a valid Social Security number, a U.S. driver's license, and insurance. But none of that seemed to matter. According to Elena, she was denied.
It wasn't even a Walmart car. Shut it down.
Elena says she persisted and contacted Walmart corporate claims, but tells us she didn't get very far.
They did not offer case number. The first person that we had spoken with said that we're going to expect to hear a call from Walmart claims services within 48 hours.
48 hours came and went. Nothing. So she called again.
The lady felt that the gig app should pay, or in fact, the gig app was Walmart Spark. The lady felt that Walmart Spark should pay for the damages to her vehicle because the guy didn't have any insurance. And eventually, Walmart Spark relented because of the unwanted media attention. This actually happened. We also know that in certain locales that folk from South America, mainly Venezuelans and from other places, there are places where these places have a significant number of people who are working these gig apps on mopeds. We also know in the news that in certain places, these mopeds that have been used by these people to do gig work, many of these mopeds have been confiscated by local police departments and local municipalities for not having the proper documentation. We know that Gregorio was riding a moped. So you put all that together and you have to ask a couple of other questions. While outrage has been expressed by many at Greg Harris's treatment of Gregorio, has anyone bothered to ask the question whether this gig delivery person had a valid UberEats account? Did he actually provide UberEats with an authentic Social Security Administration issued Social Security number? Did he provide UberEats with an authentic, valid address and possibly an authentic, valid government-issued driver's license? But the main one, starting out for starters, is an actual valid Social Security number. Now, what is known is that immigrants can apply for Social Security number at the same time they apply for an immigrant visa with the U.S. State Department. They can also apply for a Social Security number after arriving in the United States. We also know that a Social Security card can be generated for that individual so long as they provide the necessary documentation, including immigrant documents, along with proof that they are eligible to work in the United States. In Washington, D.C. area, in order to operate a moped, it must be registered with the Washington, D.C. Department of Motor Vehicles. The operator must wear a helmet at all times, have a minimum of liability insurance, get a motorcycle endorsement from the Washington, D.C. Department of Motor Vehicles. If the moped can go fast, reach speeds above 30 miles an hour, and that operator must possess a valid driver's license. So then the question becomes, was Harris really wrong for what he said? Was he? Now, I understand his anger. I can understand his anger. I also will go as far as being creative by saying that he displayed misdirected anger. There were better ways of dealing with Gregorio, and a little tack could have gone a bit further for him. Now, I say that because the unwanted attention backfired. The establishment was actually shut down prior to that incident. It was shut down as of September 11, The incident occurred on around September 17. So the actual establishment was ordered closed by the Consumer Protection and Department of Health because it was already being investigated for 2 notices of infractions that were cited back in May and August of this year. So with this incident going viral, creating this unwanted attention, that Consumer Protection and Department of Health government agency has stepped in and has said, you better be closed. You better be closed now, and ordered it closed as of September 18th to September 19th. So had he handled it differently, he may have been able to still operate under the radar, although he should not have still been open. While an argument can be made about how Gregorio was treated, an argument can also be made as to whether was Gregorio a valid, vetted person to be conducting business on the UberEats app. We don't know. And more than likely, UberEats is probably going to look the other way. We may never know whether he is actually deactivated or not. Probably not. What we do know is that UberEats said that that business is no longer at one of the restaurants on that app. They know they've severed that. They've deactivated them from the app. But what about Gregorio? Since we're talking about UberEats, I can't go without talking about Doordash. And what I have to talk about with Doordash is, are they attempting to copycat Amazon Flex? In 2 markets, Austin, Texas, and Fresno, California, DoorDash is testing using actual employees to complete its deliveries. DoorDash calls this a local commerce service partner program. DoorDash actually enters into an agreement with a third-party provider which then hires people as W-2s to complete deliveries. Does this sound familiar? If you've been involved with Amazon Flex, you know what I'm talking about. Amazon Flex has its delivery server partner program. That is the delivery vans that you see in your various communities. That is a network of third-party providers which hires the drivers, but they utilize Amazon's technology. These third-party providers must maintain various metrics to maintain their contract with Amazon. According to this article in Business Insider, the commerce service partners are local businesses that, according to the article, employ their own fleet of delivery associates who fulfill deliveries on the DoorDash platform. In this article, the Fresno-based company Fresno Logistics says that it offers $16 an hour, including tips, mileage reimbursement while completing deliveries, health benefits, and paid time off. Also in the same article, the Austin-based company LSCP1 offers $13 an hour and mileage reimbursement of 10 cents a mile. And the full-time drivers must work full 10-hour shifts. Part-time drivers must work in upwards of 20 hours of deliveries. Now, what I recall in the gig food delivery realm, the last company to try to do something like this, as what we know, was the ill-fated ASAP Waiter / Bite Squad. They had drivers, they had W-2s who were on the clock. They wore uniforms, and even for a while, they even drove company cars when conducting Bite Squad business. That business model didn't last long. They went to 100% independent contractors back in 2020. The company went out of business for good earlier this year. So here's my insight. Anyone who knows about Amazon Flex knows how Amazon puts the van companies in situations where if anything goes wrong, it's on them. The reason is that Amazon has in its many agreements with these third-party vendors that it is held faultless. So if anything happens, again, it's on the companies. Many of these van companies have a hard time keeping drivers because of the pay and Amazon's demanding metrics. I'm also speaking as a former Amazon Flex driver. I know from having been among the first drivers onboarded back in 2018 in my market, the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, that the flex drivers, and this is consistent really with most markets, the Amazon flex drivers are going to make their most and best money before the van companies come fully on board in that market. And what do I mean by that? You got to understand that because of the investment that's involved with the van companies, Amazon's got to keep these companies happy or keep them moving by redirecting a larger share of the volume to them so that they can pay their people and also not violate their contract with these companies. The Amazon Flex drivers become a necessary evil once the market is fully established with the van companies and subsequently the Amazon Flex drivers. What you'll find is that as the van companies get up to speed, the volume of blocks that the Amazon Flex drivers see is predicated upon the volume that the van companies have. For that matter, I can also speak from other experience with Federal Express and its personal vehicle program. The regular Federal Express routes must be fulfilled first before routes are carved out for the personal vehicle programs. Now I'm going to share something that I've shared with folk in private though, but I was deactivated by Amazon Flex in 2019. I never knew the reason. In fact, most drivers never know the reason why they're deactivated. But after asking around, the only thing that I could come up with was that earlier in the week, I had cursed out some van company supervisors, telling them how they've taken money away from us Amazon Flex drivers and that we weren't seeing any blocks because of them. The volume that came in had to keep them happy. And if it weren't for y'all, we would be making money. And so those same supervisors asked me, why don't I come on board with them? And I told them, why would I take a pay cut? Now, at the time, the Amazon Flex van, at the time, the van drivers were making like $15, $16 an hour. So that translates into $15, $16 an hour. I was making more money than them. Simple as that. Making more money than them. In fact, in the 10, 11 months that I was active on the Amazon Flex app, I had earned $34,000. And my 2019 1099, which reflected a little more than 9 months of active participation, I had earned right at $30,000. So that's right. I had earned an average of more than $3,000 a month on the app. And if you look at how that translates, if the drivers are making $15, $16 an hour, if they were making $15, $16 an hour back in 2018, that comes out to about $2,600, $2,700 a month. And I wasn't working as many hours as them, and I didn't have to do as many stops as them. So I was making more than the drivers. Now, how does this apply then to DoorDash? Well, let's put it like this. Well, DoorDash, in trying to keep these third-party providers happy with their W-2s, began to redirect the volume of orders to them, including the so-called better paying orders. And so with all that talk about the tiered programs that are out there now, the tiered programs where if you maintain a very high acceptance rate and a very high completion rate and a high driver rating, you may receive priority for higher paying orders. That may go out the window if DoorDash goes this route. Just something to think about. So that's all I have to share for this particular segment of the Gig Teaser. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome comments in the section below.